Former Dallas mayors Ron Kirk, Laura Miller, Tom Leppert, welcome to Eye on Politics, and thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
It is a very rare moment to have the three former mayors plus former Mayor Mike Rawlings, and then to see all of the current and former city leaders and county leaders, even state representatives from the Dallas area, the Dallas Police Association, all coming out against these three controversial ballot propositions, charters S, T, and U. And so I'd like to ask each of you, we'll just start left to right, Mayor, why are these so bad for Dallas?
Well, first of all, Jack, thank you so much for giving us the time to come together. And as we were talking off camera, the interesting thing, you reminded me, you got here after I left office. I've been out of office 20 years, Laura now, unbelievably, 10, 12. So we don't have any vested interest in this, but for our mutual love of the city. We want to see us continue to grow and prosper. And I'm going to be more polite than I should and say, I will ascribe some level of good intentions to the proponents of these amendments, but the reason we're all here is that, frankly, they would just cripple our city's ability to be able to effectively manage itself, to do business, and pay for our basic services. Because creating a world in which we're going to hamstring the council from making thoughtful budget decisions, as well as open up every public employee, including our hardworking police and fire, to litigation over every measure. It's just a prescription for inertia, and it'll be impossible to provide the services we've all come to love, as well as to attract businesses like Mayor Leppert, who moved this company here 20 years ago, providing thousands of jobs.
Mayor Miller.
You know, look where we're sitting right now. We're sitting in Clyde Warren Park, which is a product of a Dallas City Council, your elected officials that brought this here. Ron brought the American Airlines Center. Tom brought the Convention Center Hotel. My city council spent years trying to get old office buildings that were vacant into residences, and now we went from 600 people living downtown to 15,000. So all of this takes time, energy, money, and flexibility. And what this proposition S and T and U, what they're going to do is take away all the flexibility, and they're going to take away the money. Councils need to be able to make decisions and prioritize taxpayer funds to create what we have done over 44 years, 37 council members, former council members spanning 44 years, continuous service to this city, are opposing STU.
Mayor Leppert.
Well, both Ron and Laura talked about the time span that all of us represented, but you've got some strength and division in terms of the political spectrums that we represent too, as well as different parts of town. So I think it's important to understand that it's not just three former mayors, but mayors that come from different political perspectives, different parts of town, etc., have all come together. Ron also mentioned the number of groups that have been involved, as you did in your introduction. You didn't mention some of the business groups. I come from a business background, and I can tell you the business environment is very much opposed to these three propositions, because they understand, as Ron and Laura said, that this is going to hurt business. It's going to hurt the opportunities for our city to continue to grow and prosper economically.
So let me ask you, because when you hear the other side, the Dallas hero, the people behind these initiatives, they say crime is out of control. The council has failed to do its job in hiring more police. You've been in city leadership positions. So what do you say to that? They just say on the face of it, this is the only solution to get the city where it needs to be.
All three of us are concerned about crime. You would see all of us being very much in favor of public safety, but let's put a dose of reality in this first of all. There was recently a survey that was done of all the large major cities. Dallas, both by its residents and by visitors, was ranked as the safest city. We have seen over the course of the last several years, Dallas outperform all other major cities in terms of the crime statistics. All of us are in favor of adding police officers. During my term, we added more police officers than any city in this nation over the last 75 or 100 years as a city of any significant size. So I'm for putting more police officers on the street. But the key is we've got to do it right. And these proposals are not well thought out well. They don't do it right. And the reality is they're going to create a lot more problems than solutions that they provide to solve problems.
Jack, if I could add to that, as different as we may have approached things, there's not been a Dallas council that's not allocated at least 60, if not 65% of our budget to public safety. We all understand that is job one. And I'll try not to belabor, but to Tom's point, if we could call Walmart and say, and cops dare us and say, send us 900 cops, we'd have done it. It's just hard work. Before you give someone the power to take somebody's life, we want to train them, we want to educate them about community policing and neighborhood because we want the job done right. And whether we like it or not, Dallas does that and invests more than that than anyone. And our suburban cities, many of whom we love, know that. So they wait until they've been here 4 or 5 years and say, hey, we'll give you more money and you'll have an easier time. And so between attrition and people leaving, it's hard. And so you can't just arbitrarily say, we're going to go add
It's hard all over the nation.
Because every city is trying to solve the problem of getting the right people with the right sensibilities to do one of the toughest jobs we as young people to take on.
And Mayor
And the
Miller.
current city council has allocated the funding in the current budget to hire 250 new officers, to increase the salaries of the officers, to hire equipment and guns and all the things that they need to keep us safe. So this is not an issue that is being ignored. And most importantly, this last week, both the Dallas Police Association and the Dallas Firefighters Association came out strongly opposed to ST&U.
What does that say?
I'd also say to Laura's point, let's put some facts on the table. Last year, the budget went up about $65 million in total. The addition into public safety was $78 million. It was literally over 100% of the increase that we saw.
So let me ask you, because we're not just talking about an ordinance here, right? I mean, this is going to change the charter of the city, the constitution of the city. So if one of these were to pass, the next opportunity, you can't just change it willy-nilly, right? Talk to me about that this would be a long-term decision that residents would be making, isn't that right?
Well, it is, Jack, and that's an important point. It becomes constitution, so it becomes part of the city's constitution, our charter. But also understand that these proposals have never been tried anywhere before. You never have a city or a state, or clearly our nation, that has given away standing in terms of a legal sense and sovereign immunity. So the issue is, do we really want to be an experiment knowing that this isn't going to be a simple vote of the council that's going to change it? It's going to be there forever, very difficult to change. Do we really want to be the experiment that takes and puts at risk our city and our economic future?
And Jack, I would say this. Right now, we're really in a prime position. We're in a part of the country business families are moving to. We've got a great quality of life. As Laura mentioned, we've made major investments, public safety, libraries, parks, what we're trying to do. If we pass these amendments, Dallas is an attractive space for business. They don't like uncertainty. And we can't say, as you mentioned, oh, well, let's see what happens these next 6 years. We fall behind, and all of a sudden, we're losing that war, and it is hard to get businesses to come to the center city. What we've done is very special. We can't afford to be on a litigation stagnant trail for 6 years because of the certain amount of litigation, people challenging every decision the council makes. That's just no way to run a business.
One immediate consequence of this passing, if it did, is that it would require a community survey of citizens once a year, with as few as 1,400 of our 1.3 million citizens actually taking the survey. And if our citizens said, you know, we don't like the way city services are going, we think that the city's doing a bad job, then that would require that the city manager perhaps be fired. It says it in the amendment. If he did a great job, then you could as much as double the city manager's salary. Well, the problem with that is that right now we don't have a full-time city manager. We have an interim city manager because our city manager left and went to Austin. Who in America is going to apply to be the Dallas city manager if that passes?
And we don't have a
Nobody.
police chief.
And we don't have a police chief.
which will be the hire of the new city manager.
Yeah.
Correct.
So let me ask you last question, and that is, there's a lot on this ballot. Obviously, you've got the president, the Senate, members of Congress, state reps, just go down the list. And so by the time people have to go down the list, so what's your message to Dallas voters specifically about that? They've got to get down the ballot, right? I mean, a lot of people they vote for president, done.
No.
They can't, is what you're saying.
If you care about your city, you care about your quality of life, please take the time, go to the end of the ballot and vote no. And there are other charter amendments, which also makes the point. The city has a very thoughtful process to convene citizens. They spent a year looking at the charter. This hero group didn't participate in this. So there's no intent to try to work with us to make this a better issue. But you have to take the time, go to the end of the ballot and vote against STU.
And I'd also add something to what Ron said. I think it's go to the end of the ballot, but also take a little bit of time to educate yourself. The idea that we are hearing on the other side is we want more accountability, we want more police officers. Again, all three of us are supportive of that. Take the time to educate and understand what the ramifications of these three possible proposals are. Because when you understand them, it changes significantly. We were out walking the streets this weekend, and I came up to a house and was going to give him the flyer to vote no. And he said, "Don't give it to me. I'm voting for him." I said, "That's interesting. Tell me why." He said, "I'm for accountability. I want more police officers." And then we walked through exactly what each of these mean and understanding some of the paradoxes. The defund the police movement, which was popular a couple of years ago, their first tenet was to eliminate immunity for the police officers. That's what one of these proposals does. So once you educate yourself on these, then it becomes pretty clear. But unfortunately, it takes time to go to the bottom of the ballot, and it takes time to understand what the ramifications are. But as you said, Jack, these will be around for a long period of time.
Mayor Miller.
I think the most compelling argument here is that if you look at our side of the issue, there are all 6 living mayors opposed. The entire Dallas City Council is opposed. 37 former city council members spanning 44 years of service are opposed. All 5 Dallas County commissioners and 11 former state representatives and current ones. The other side of the issue, we only know of 2 people that are in charge, that are supporting it. And it's someone who lives in Highland Park who's funding it, and then it's someone who lives in University Park who's the executive director of it. But we have no other names of people that are supporting it because they have a nonprofit that doesn't require that you identify their donors. So it's very lopsided, and I think that the people that should be trusted are the people that have selflessly, over 44 years, given their time and energy and love for the city and want to preserve it now.
All right, I do have one other question. I want to follow up on that. And what's really going on here, right? What is really behind this effort, do you think?
The best answer is that the Texas Observer did an 8,000-word story about this that published last week online. And so we are encouraging everyone to read that, to give a really good historical perspective on the person that has put this all together.
Did anybody want to add it to that?
No, but I think you should ask them because one, it is fascinating. They say they want accountability. Nonprofits typically don't engage in political activity. Nonprofits in Dallas have helped us buy mobile command units, fund parks, build the Nasher, build our bridges. Nonprofits typically come and say, "Hey, I'd like to help. How can I do that?" And I think I'd rather have them answer that while they're doing it, because even though I say I'm going to ascribe good intent to them, they don't have to live with this. And forgive me for neglecting. It's real easy for everybody to say, "Yeah, we should be able to sue the city." You are the city. We pay the taxes. And this is real simple. either our taxes are going to go up or we're going to have to cut services. And I mean, we're going to have to cut bone to make the kind of changes that they want. So I hope you'll do what Mayor Leopard said. Take the time to not just look at the, what did Mayor Rollins call it? Chocolate-covered rat poison?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks pretty.
And you called it a hand grenade being rolled into
no,
City
if there's
Hall.
ever been a Trojan horse, this is it. But I think you should ask them why they're doing it.
We will.
My two elders have said it better than I could.
You know, think of what the Dallas Police Association president said just 2 days ago. He said, listen, you're not going to be safe passing these amendments in our city. You're going to be safe when the city council is able to fund the parks, the police, the new police academy, the rec centers so kids can go there and stay out of trouble, code enforcement to go into neighborhoods and clean them up. All of us together doing those things is what makes a city safe, not something where you're dictating how to spend money on public safety.
And again, we spent a lot of time during my time putting police officers on the street, and I'm proud of that. But we also spent an awful lot of resources in parts of our community that needed to be improved from a compliance standpoint, youth programs, community engagement, community prosecutors. Those were all critical elements that went in to reducing the crime rate significantly. I wish it was one thing. Problems are too complex today. It takes a lot of different components. We need the flexibility to be able to address all of those components to make a difference for the citizens of Dallas.
And Jack, if you'll allow me one more thing, because ironically, I met Tom Leopard 25 years ago because I was bragging about, he was our first big major business to move from New York back to Dallas with Turner Construction. And the way we alleviate the burden on homeowners is when companies like Tom say, I want to live in Dallas. And they come and they pay property taxes. Goldman Sachs is building $1 million new facility not a half a mile here because of the environment, because of the parks. And if we want to keep attracting that type of investment, that's how we grow the tax base to pay for police and fire.
And take the burden off the taxpayer.
And take the burden off the homeowner.
Well, I have to say thank you all so much to all these great former Dallas mayors, Ron Kirk, Laura Miller, Tom Leopard. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Early voting has started.
Yep.
Get out and vote. Make sure you go to the end of the ballot. Vote no on STU.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good viewing.